Even though we know the ending of this series is that Winston takes control of the Continental. Even though we know that, I was still on the edge of my seat as I was watching this. It was roughly an hour and a half, a little bit over an hour and a half finale of the three-part series of the Continental, which is the hotel in the John Wick world. What did I think of this? Best ending ever. Yes, like I said, we knew that he takes over the Continental, but there are still a couple little twists and things thrown in there. My speculation that the coin press was hidden inside this flower pot were completely wrong. So, of course, once we saw what the coin press looked like, then it was like, yes, there was no way it was going to fit in that flower pot. So that was a little bit of a red herring thrown in by the director. Now, there was one interesting little thing that I did recall after my part 2 review, and that was the Hansel and Gretel killing duo, brother, sister, whatever. When we first see Gretel, when Sharon knocks on their door, she's doing some kind of weird body contorting pose or something, and he's like looking like it's a little bit weird. What was really great about that is that it set up her ability to do that later on. So when she did do those body contorting things, you didn't think, wow, that was weird, because you saw her when it didn't matter doing those things. And of course, even when you see her, her body is fully contorted and the way it's bent and everything, you almost question whether she's real or not, whether she's like some kind of a robot or something. Now, obviously it's the 70s, so no. One thing that I did like is the use of a phone booth. Of course, we all used to make phone calls back in the day using a phone booth with the old glass doors that Constantine had opened and closed, that kind of a thing. So we did get one of those in. We also had a little bit of a twist about the female detective. We still don't know what was seen in the biscuit tin that was in her oven. That wasn't really ever fully revealed to us, but we did find her motivations for zeroing in on Winston's brother Francis, and it was more than just her job, and then subsequently onto Winston as well. So we found out her motivation, and her motivation, of course, is that Winston killed her family back when Winston was just a little wee pup and he firebombed a building. And then, of course, we find out later that he was actually put up to that by Mel Gibson so that Mel Gibson would have a hold on them because he made them commit a death or something like that. Mel Gibson's end, yes, like we know that he ends because Winston takes control of the Continental. Mel Gibson's ending was fitting, and we found out there's some rooms in the Continental we didn't know about. Of course, my biggest bugbear was Sharon simply not shooting Mel Gibson at the very beginning, which then, I mean, it was good because we got to see a lot of action take place after that. But prior to that, it was, if he had done that, then they would have got the armory and they just would have taken the place over and it would have been pretty easy. So we kind of needed that plot element for Sharon not to pull the trigger, for Mel Gibson to escape and then set a whole wheel in motion, which was great because we also saw a little bit of extra acting prowess from Mel Gibson because he kind of plays that crazy person pretty well, really, if you think about it. The more famous roles he's had as Mad Max, he was kind of a little bit odd, a little bit crazy in Lethal Weapon, a little bit crazy, and in this, it just suited him right down to the ground. Now, he does play a baddie in another movie, and I did a review on that movie, which was like a little bit of a time loop movie where he's a baddie in that one as well. So he plays this bit part baddie role. He actually plays it pretty well. And I don't think he cares if he's typecast into it. Plenty of action, plenty of reveals. Poor Lemmy died. There wasn't really, I couldn't really see any way for him to not be killed within this movie. He wasn't main enough to the story. So you kind of knew that he was going to be gone, that he would be sacrificed for the win. Look, the end of the movie took me by surprise. We knew that Winston was going to take over the building, but how he had to deal with the high table and whatnot, we kind of didn't really know how that was going to transpire. But it was done super duper well, in that when the adjudicator came and basically, flexed her muscle, he just shot her, because she said, the high table doesn't even know who you are, and they're not even going to talk to you. So he just shot her and killed her. Well, now they will, because he's not only has he taken over the Continental completely, he's also taken out the adjudicator sent to the Continental. So he now owns and runs the Continental. So yes, the high table will have to talk to him. So this is a world that he's willingly putting himself into so he can run the Continental. Action-wise, it was just a plenty. Killers killing each other. Reminded me a little bit of Smoking Aces, killers killing each other. So that you always had that little bit of over-the-top killer action, which was fantastic. And of course, the twist, the biggest twist, not really where the coin press was hidden. Now, that was only revealed as a potential location, as a bit scene. So my feeling was they didn't really know where to hide it. They'd got to the end and they said, you know what, let's just hide it here. Well, great, we're going to hide it there. We have to have a reason for it to be there. Okay, let's just film another scene with the little kids in that location so it means something, and that way we'll all just go, oh, we'll all nod our heads and go, yes, yes, of course. So that, to me, it came across like an afterthought placement. Where's the MacGuffin being placed? But it could have been there from the very beginning, just a nice little trick in editing to hide that from us, so it wasn't going to be so obvious. What he did with the press was brilliant. Who he gave the press to was brilliant. And spoiler alert here, he gives the press to the leader of the homeless people. He's bought them a bank, and of course she can do whatever she wants with it, turn it into whatever, but they now own the bank, and it's got a big vault, and inside that vault is, of course, the coin press. So the homeless people now rule the roost as far as printing the coins go. And I thought that was a brilliant bit of a strategy that came from Winston in this case. So we did get to see Winston is a little bit of a planning genius on how he went about doing what he did, and we can see why he ends up being left in charge of the Continental. For a finale of a TV series, and we know that there's potentially going to be more, but for a finale of this 3-part series, and I mean, like I was saying, each part is old school movie length of roughly 90 minutes. This was just absolutely fantastic. I only had the one little niggly bit with Sharon not shooting Mel Gibson, but it didn't really matter because him not doing that got us so much more entertainment and action. Now, yes, it's not really something children should be watching, but hey, if you haven't seen this series, do what you can to do it. I'm going to see if I can get a hold of it in a tangible way, because I'd like to have a tangible copy so I can throw it in with my other tangible copies of the John Wick movies that I have. If you've seen it, let me know what you think down below.